Hi, how are ya? It's long been known that cortisol levels in fibromyalgia are dysregulated. Cortisol is often called the steroid stress hormone. It affects our metabolism, lowers inflammation, regulates blood pressure, affects our blood glucose, and affects our sleep-wake cycle. Cortisol is an important glucocorticoid in humans that adrenal glands produce and release. Glucocorticoids are steroid hormones that are widely used to treat inflammation, autoimmune diseases, and cancer. Adrenal glands are located on top of our kidneys and part of the endocrine system. Cortisol is something we want our body to get right, and that's what I'd like to talk about today. Here we go. In fibromyalgia patients, cortisol was found to be lower during the day and most pronounced in the morning. More pain, stress, sleeping problems, anxiety, and depression are the result. A dysfunction of the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis is supported by this result. What researchers have found is blunted feedback signaling. This means that cortisol production was not shut down when it should be, and tended to go on longer than normal in fibro patients. There is an accumulation of higher cortisol residues and internal inhibitory feedback regulating the hormonal secretory events. Here's the problem, quote, if the cortisol clearance rate by the liver is low, and there are fewer number of hormonal secretory events, it may potentially influence the immune system in such a way that it promotes inflammation, pain, and other related symptoms. The increase in cortisol residue due to lower cortisol clearance rates, as discussed, may contribute to a relative decrease in glucocorticoid sensitivity in immune cells, like monocytes, that secrete pro-inflammatory cytokines. Further, no anti-inflammatory signal may be transmitted due to reduced glucocorticoid sensitivity and fewer hormonal secretory events. When stress or other provocation triggers an acute inflammatory response, cortisol may be less effective in the termination of the response, meaning it may not shut off our fight or flight response. Cortisol affects almost every organ and tissue in our body. Our homeostasis continuously monitors our cortisol levels. Higher than normal and lower than normal amounts can be harmful to our body. As a stress hormone, it's important to remember that there are different kinds of stress. Acute stress happens within a short period of time, like being involved in a car accident. Chronic stress happens when you experience an ongoing situation like a frustrating job or having a chronic illness like fibromyalgia. And traumatic stress when you experience a life-threatening event that causes fear and a feeling of hopelessness, like experiencing a tornado or going to war or an assault. Traumatic stress can lead to PTSD. When any of these events occur, the body releases cortisol, Many organ systems in the body are affected, such as the nervous system, immune system, cardiovascular system, reproductive system, musculoskeletal system, and our integumentary system, like our skin, hair, nails, glands, and nerves. A small area in the brain called the hypothalamus is involved in hormonal regulation, and the pituitary gland, a tiny gland located below your brain, regulates the production of cortisol in your adrenal glands, which I stated was located above the kidneys. Lower than normal levels of cortisol, called hypocortisolism, is considered adrenal fatigue. Low cortisol levels can produce symptoms like fatigue, unintentional weight loss or appetite, or low blood pressure called hypotension. Living with clutter in your home can lead to emotional distress and social isolation, which can set your cortisol levels in disarray. Maybe the only people who see the inside of your home are your family members because you're too embarrassed because of the way your home looks. Now, I'm a work in progress. While I was working my full-time job and going to school at night, the piles began. It paralyzed me. And by the time I retired, I knew that something different had to happen. I needed to carve out time in my day to get my home organized. I allowed myself 15 minutes to declutter every day. Keeping my home picked up can feel like a mountain of responsibility, but I figured out that the stress that my home was giving me needed to be resolved. I realized that I could take baby steps to get there. Why is it that we look at something and think it's too much? For me, I realized that I couldn't look at that monster on my back. I had to look at it like it was in small pieces, pieces that I could tackle over time. When I'm tired, I rest in my favorite recliner. I don't push myself too much or I pay for it. This is a lesson I've learned since starting this channel. I was so excited to get things done that I would overdo it. And then I was a mess for days, sometimes weeks. We're not lazy. I repeat, we are not lazy. If you're like me, doing housework in the way we want it done can be troublesome and challenging. It can feel exhausting just to think about it. The first tip I can give you is to remove the clutter. I'm not a minimalist, nor do I think that you need to be, but making your home a place you want to be is important. Clutter can pile up. My home is a good example of that with unfinished projects. Not all mine. My husband is a great contributor, but we're working on making sure that our mail is sorted when it comes in the house, and my husband takes care of the mail that he wants to sort. And for the things that you don't use every day, put them away. For my bedroom closet, I'm working on getting it organized, but I'm doing it slowly. I've probably been working on it for weeks. I go into our junk room and do a little section at a time. Eventually, that junk room is going to have a couch with a pull-out bed in it as a place for extra grandkids to come and stay for a visit. But there's so much in there, it's going to take time. I haven't given up. I won't give up. It's about effort and what I'm capable of doing in a single day. So I don't overwhelm myself. I've had setbacks, but it hasn't caused me to give up. And I hope you won't too. I have routines like cleaning my CPAP equipment in the daytime so it's ready for me at night. I set my clothes out for the next day the night before, and then I don't have to think about that in the morning. I've gotten rid of things that we don't need. And my husband's like, everything that you've been giving away, we could make money. It's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's about reducing my stress and making me comfortable in my own home. On my low energy days, I will always put things back where they go. And then I praise myself for what I did that day. It's freeing for me to eliminate the things that I wasn't using and didn't love, or things that I was emotionally attached to that served no purpose in my current life. Adding baskets and trays to corral items in my home was important. The Dollar Tree has cheap baskets that have made my life easier. Just take note of where things pile up. It's a sign that maybe you need to make a new home for these items and keep them near the place where they tend to pile. If you have a home for things, you're more likely to put those things away. I no longer keep all cleaning supplies in my laundry room. I keep the cleaning supplies I need under each bathroom sink and under my kitchen sink so they're easily accessed. Again, the Dollar Tree has helped me in that area. I use a lightweight vacuum cleaner to do everyday type of vacuuming. I can use it on my wood type floors to pick up dog fur and dirt. I use a bagless vacuum, and it's easier on my body. I also use a long-handled microfiber duster for those difficult to reach areas where the cobwebs like to roam. I also use Dawn soap a lot. It's great for cleaning, and it doesn't seem to have chemicals that bother me. I also keep it in my hand pump in each bathroom to wash hands, and it's there and handy to clean. Warm water works well on mirrors, and then use a dry microfiber cloth to dry. Dollar Tree. I know that baking soda and vinegar works for many people to clean, but I don't like the smell of vinegar. So when our rugs need cleaned, my husband often uses a vinegar solution. It helps with the doggy smell. But you can find an alternative if you're sensitive. But remember to pace yourself and prioritize the jobs. I tend to zone clean, meaning I do a small area of my home one at a time. I don't try to tackle everything at once, but the less clutter you have, the easier it is to clean. Have you found a way to get your home organized? I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to comment below. Now I've got to go clean my bathroom countertops. I've let things pile in there. Another day at the office. I hope you learned something. I send you gentle hugs and support. Love you. The steroid stress hormone. Cortisol is often called the hormone stress hormone. Cortisol is an important glucocorticoid important glucocortic. Acute stress happens when it regulates the production of low blood, which I'm not a mental to pick up dog for